welcome back to the channel. On this video I'm going to make a special about one of my all-time favorite cars, the Ford Galaxie. For me, the Ford Galaxie is kind of a special car, not only because I own two of them in 1:1 scale, but the Ford Galaxie was always a car that inspired me, and in great part due to the Ford Galaxie that I started modeling, because I wanted a V8 Ford for myself instead of just looking my father's Galaxie and my mother's Maverick. And even though I am a big fan of the Maverick too, the Ford Galaxie is a special car to me. The first car I drove was a Galaxie. But, well, I'm going to show you in this video my favorite year of Galaxie. And it may be a little redundant because at least two of the cars that I'm going to show in this video you already know. At least you know if you watched my previous videos. But I'll show them again because, well, they show a progression in quality of the builds I have been doing, and I think that's important. I will start with one I'm sure you already see, and it's kind of old. It's kind of an old build. That's this one, my 66 AMT in Amber Glow. The color didn't come out quite perfect as it should, but I still like the car a lot. It has the red interior that is in fact a kind of a three-tone of red. You have a darker shade for the carpeting, a not so dark shade for the vinyl, and a little darker shade for the inserts on the vinyl. Also, when I built this model kit, I didn't correct any flaws of the AMT kit, and I didn't really know how to do that, and you will understand when you see what I say is a flaw that can be understood as a characteristic of the kit. For example, here on the interior you're gonna see this steering wheel that has the horn ring and has only two spokes, and this steering wheel is the regular steering wheel for a Galaxie 500, but this kit is not a regular Galaxie 500. It is a Galaxie 500 7-liter, and the 7-liter has a specific steering wheel that the car shares with the Ford Mustang. Also, under the hood, I didn't correct everything that was wrong with the kit. Let's show what was wrong and is wrong with the kit. Here on the radiator core, there is no much detail here on the sides where the real car has an angle, a reinforcement here, where the fender is actually bolted to the radiator core on the real car. I didn't fix any of this. I just kind of manufactured this little support here, this little hand. I manufactured it with just with a plain sheet of styrene, and I didn't include any detail here in this part, and it's all practically original from the kit here at the front. The engine, at the time when I built this one, I didn't paint the engine the correct shade of blue because I didn't have the correct shade, and this one I mixed using household enamel paints, and it turned too light to the correct shade. But on the positive side, I did this custom 428 decal here, and here you can see the air cleaner itself. It's not the correct air cleaner for the 7-liter Galaxie. This one is the air cleaner for the 352 engine, and I really don't know why AMT included this air filter when they were planning to build a 7-liter. This is kind of a defect. But I added a brake master cylinder and booster from the parts box. I added spark plug wires. The coil I also added, and the fuel line, the heater hoses, and one of the 2 power steering hoses. And here you can see a scratch built power steering pump. But I didn't bother to add the radiator shroud that the car should have. So here on the underside, it's quite commendable for me at the time. I built this model in 2009 because it was one of my very first models where I actually took time to include spark plug wires and to add hoses and stuff that I never used to do. And even today it's very rare for me to add spark plug wires and heater hoses and stuff like that. I only add them when I'm in the mood to do so. We cannot forget that this hobby is about having fun. Yeah, that word, having fun. But, well, that's what I think about the hobby. It's about having fun. And if you're not in the mood, if the thing is going to become a burden, well, don't do it. Here I also did some modifications to the tires that came with the kit, that were the Firestone's Supreme Champions, that are very skinny and incorrect for the model year, because the Deluxe Champions that they included in the kit were more of a 50s tire, and instead of that tire I used this one. That's the Firestone Wide Oval, and in 1/1 scale this is my absolute favorite tire, the Firestone Wide Oval. It's a great tire. Also here I didn't deepen the stripes here on the rocker panel molding, and they are very shallow. And I also didn't deepen the body lines here on the gas tank, and you see it almost got lost under the paint. Here it also almost got lost under the paint on the trunk. And those trim pieces here were made just cutting pieces of foil, so they have no 3D detail whatsoever, because the 3D detail is very shallow here on the column and got lost under the paint. Also, on the underside of the car, at the time I didn't do the correct primer, and I just painted cars black underside. That's what most people do, but if you're trying to replicate a factory stock car, well, that's not 100% correct. Also, you can see here that the exhaust is molded into the rear end, and here you can see where this one broke. Yeah, this model had an accident about a year ago when it rolled off the shelf, and this side of the exhaust pipe broke. Also, you can see here the joints and other joints here that kind of make the exhaust look unrealistic, because of there are too many joints without the proper clamps, what is kind of odd. And the real car doesn't have this joint here, so it's a detail I didn't fix. Well, going away, or better keeping with the Galaxies, you're gonna see the one I built for last. That is also this 1966. This car is painted correct factory color, candy apple red, with the black interior. And this car I corrected lots of little details that the AMT kit had, and it is quite easy now to correct those details. First of all, I deepened all the shut lines of the trunk, the gas door, and the doors at the front, so they wouldn't get lost under paint, because they are really shallow. And I also added those lines here, this line here, and the same on the other side, that the AMT kit doesn't have, and they are the separations between the front fenders and the cowl here. You can see on this car that it has no body lines there. It's just smooth, and that's not the correct way. I also cut the groove here on the dash to show the separate piece that this upper part is, and this little groove is not present on the regular AMT kit. Another detail not present is the rear view mirror, both this one from the inside and this one on the outside. This one, by the way, was completely scratch built. I did a resin copy of the base that comes with Revell 1957 Ford Custom. So I made a resin copy, cut the circular mirror that came here, and scratch built this little polygonal mirror here, because it's not square and it's not a rectangle, it's a trapezium, and that's the way the mirror on the real car is. Also here on the column I added little styrene pieces to the places where the body just had very faint lines to replicate these three trim pieces, and of course I did it on both sides. And on the interior, other than the normal stuff, I added a black carpeting. I did a better job of foiling the door panels. I added a correct shifter for the 7-liter, and I scratch built the brake pedal and the clutch pedal and the parking brake pedal all on the other side of the car. And I also scratch built this steering wheel. That's a 3-spoke steering wheel, and this one is the correct steering wheel for the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter, and it's the same steering wheel that came on Mustangs. And this one I built out of 2 different steering wheels. One was from a Mustang die-cast, that are the 3 spokes and the center, the horn button, and the ring, the outer ring, is from an optional AMT steering wheel that I cut, adapted the spokes from the Mustang, from the die-cast Mustang, and glued the center section of the Mustang steering wheel to the rim of the AMT steering wheel, creating a more correct steering wheel for the 7-liter Galaxie. Also, on the engine compartment, I did some corrections to what AMT did. You can see the differences. You can see the differences here. And there are quite a few. I added these details that the kit didn't have on both sides. Did a more complex job here, replicating the correct radiator support. I also added kind of a replica of the hood latch. Used a better radiator that is from the same die-cast Mustang the steering wheel came from. Added this washer bag. That's in fact a resin copy of the washer bag that comes on the AMT 66 Fairlane. I added the correct brake master cylinder with the brake line here, and the booster with the vacuum hose going to the intake manifold. Added the correct spark plug wires on the correct firing order. I also added the yellow top coil, added the fuel line, added the heater hoses, and added the two steering pump power steering pump hoses, added the correct 7-liter air cleaner with the two correct stickers, the 428 here and the sticker about the Autolite spark plugs here. And this car also has a scratch built power steering pump, but this time I also scratch built the brackets for the power steering pump, and on this side I scratch built the bracket for the alternator, so this car don't have the famous floating alternator that many builds have, including mine. I also added this custom decal here that the Galaxies have. It's a Ford Rotunda decal with the oil change intervals and the general tune-up of the big 428 FEV8 engine. Added the starter solenoid with the starter instructions tag here. That this is a sticker used when you're going to jumpstart another car, or you are going to jumpstart this car with the battery from another car, and it says always connect positive to positive and negative to negative, because someone will do a mess out of that, of course. Another scratch built item is the antenna that was built from two hypodermic needles, one inside of the other. And on the underside of the car I added the gold plated Rotunda oil filter. I added the correct primer here with the correct rust proofing insulation here in the middle, the correct balancing marks on the drive shaft. I also eliminated those joints that the exhaust has here and here, leaving only this two here. I separated the exhaust from the rear end, so the exhaust goes under the rear end like on the real car. Here you can see also the rust proofing that goes under the axle here. I added scratch built shock absorbers in place because the kit didn't have any, and I opened the tip of the exhaust pipes so it looks more realistic. Those tires are in fact Revell tires from the 57 Ford kit, but they have no brand and they have a very 60s like how can I say it, well, they have a very 60s like pattern here. So what I did was to paint the white lines on them using my Dremel tool, and I can show this technique for you if you want that. Also, I deepened the lines here on the trim pieces here and here, so they are deep enough to accept a black wash, because they are black on the 1/1 scale Ford Galaxie. I detail painted the wheel cover, and all in all got a model that is a lot more accurate than the one I built back in 2009. Sorry. Even though I like both. And there is a new one, and this one you don't know, because I built it on the weekend just after I finished this one. I started the build on Friday and finished on Sunday night, so it was a very quick build. And this one is another 66, but this time it's a it's not that stock, is it? And it's also red. This color here is not a Ford color. It's Tamiya Italian red over a white base, because I wanted it to be very light. And comparing with the stock Ford color here, comparing with the candy apple red, you can see that this one is a lot more to the orange than the candy apple red. That's the correct Ford color. Also, this car has a little secret. This car is a 427 R-code Galaxie. So I installed a set of my favorite aftermarket wheels, the Krager SS's, wrapped with Goodyear bias ply all around. We have a little 428 emblem, 427 emblem right here, that are resin copies of the 427 emblem that comes with the AMT 66 Fairlane. I'm quite enjoying this resin copy stuff. Makes the life a lot easier. The interior, I didn't bother to scratch build a steering wheel, and I wouldn't have the time, so I used the one the kit provides. I didn't install carpeting, just painted the kit interior tub, and I used a brush to paint the interior, so it was a lot faster than airbrushing it, because to airbrush different colors I would have to wait at least a full day for the lighter color to dry, so I could mask it and airbrush the darker color. By brush you don't have that worry, so things can be done a lot faster. So I also didn't fix the shifter. That's not 100% correct, but I added 3 instruments, extra instruments here under the dash, and I added a tack on the steering column. That of course you will need it with the optional R-code engine. I also made this car a stripe delete, so it will be more sporty. The exhaust I did complete. I practically rebuilt the exhaust system So it exits here on the rear of the car via a pair of chrome plated tips. But the better, I think at least, is yet to come. That is the engine. Well, I didn't add custom heater hoses or power steering hoses or a brake booster or a correct steering a brake master cylinder, but I scratch built the correct R-Code 427 V8 engine for this car. Let's take a look. The R-Code was the hot stuff in '66. It was an engine that would perform on the street even better than the Camry. And this engine is kind of a copy of the factory R-Code engine. I used the intake manifold that comes with the SOHC Camry engine. I used the air cleaner that comes with the AMT 62T board, and I used the block of the 428 to create this replica of the 427 engine. I added the fuel lines for the twin 4-barrel carburetors, just the way Ford did it, including this little filter here, and I added spark plug wires, and those are blue because I was out of black spark plug wires, and I think they are kind of cool for this car. And here I left the molded in power steering hoses and the molded in wiring that you have here. The mirror, it's just a resin copy of the round mirror that comes with Revell 57 Ford. I didn't bother to scratch build the correct mirror here, and I just added the body line here, deepened the body lines on the sides, the gas door filler and the trunk body line, and added 3 little styrene pieces for the trim on the columns. Sorry guys for the interruption, my battery gave out. The paint, like I told you, is Tamiya. It's Italian red, straight out of the spray can, and the color, even though I can't brag it's the original color, but it got really close to a Ford color, to signal flare red that was an original Ford color. I'm going to show you. The underside is not very detailed because remember, this is a 2.5 day build. So I just painted the underside black because doing the primer work here is very time consuming as you have to actually brush paint the entire frame after you airbrushed the primer, and you have to airbrush the rust proofing, and that is really time consuming. The underside of the engine is stock, the front suspension is lowered, and I am not using the metal axle because you can only lower the front suspension to a point using the metal axle. So I'm using another kind of wheel here, of inner wheel here, that comes on many Revell kits. That's just glued to the suspension on the position you want. I left the oil filter here chrome plated, and from here back I redid the exhaust from scratch. Here we have a couple of glass packs that of course will make this powerhouse here to sound awesome. You have a straight pipe here to the rear with chrome tips, so it's not on the stock position that will be here. And I also have little tires on the front and big ones on the rear, but I kept here the differential gear carrier painted the correct color. It's just more or less like a restored car would be, all painted black underside. And all in all, I think it turned quite well for a 2.5 day build. Of course, it hasn't the same detail level as the last one I built, but I'm quite happy with this one. Of course, I didn't have the time to scratch build the antenna, so I robbed this one from my parts box, and that's about it. The lettering on the tires here is hand painted. Those are not parts pack tires. Those are very old AMT tires, and those craggers here, they come with the kit and they are quite good. The lettering is all hand painted on the tires. So this one is kind of a sportier Ford Galaxie. And if you didn't have a complete overdose of Galaxies by now, I'm a fan. Not that I ever would have an overdose of Galaxies. Well guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for the patience, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye bye.